Hi guys, Drew here, back with another video. The Growlers lose in this one, 4-3 to the Norfolk Admirals. Pretty hard-fought game, honestly, from the Growlers, guys. We really pushed at that end of the third period, with 2 goals from one player. I'll mention that in a couple of seconds. But pretty solid game played by Dryden McKay. He played pretty well last night, although the defense left him out to dry. But a pretty solid game regardless from the Goth, and we still got a point, losing in overtime to Norfolk. So the goals in this game, the first goal of the game goes to Joe Gattenby. He gets his first of the season. So basically the Growls made a trade a couple of days ago with the Allen Americans. Joe Gattenby acquired from the Growlers for future considerations. That could be any type of player that could be sent back to Allen. Thinking of some ECHL signed players like for example, a guy like Theron Noel could go back to Allen if Joe Gattenby played like extraordinarily well. Similar thing happened with the Matt Treadle trade last year. He got traded for future considerations, and Joseph Murdaka got sent back to Orlando a couple of months later. But Joe gets his first goal of the Growler in his first game, one of his first shifts actually as the Growler, and it was a pretty nice goal, pretty nice shot from Joe, and Kapchek and Singleton with a beautiful assist on that goal as he left Gattenby all open and he fired it top corner. And then the next 2 goals for the Growlers are like late in the game. They both go to none other than Keenan Suthers. He gets his both goals were his second and third of the season. Suthers has seemed to adapt back to the ECHL system. He started with the Growlers and seemed to be struggling a little bit, but then since he's like kind of adapted since like Adirondack in Utah, he seemed to play extraordinarily better. But now he's been on reserve for a little bit now, so it's good to see that he's going to be back playing pretty well. So that's pretty good. And now the Growlers, I'm want to talk about their lineup for a quick second. So you know how the Growlers, I was complaining about how they had 8 defensemen. That's just way too much defensemen, 3 forward lines. But they pretty much did the opposite tonight. They had 5 defensemen, which, okay, you can't do that. Like, you only can have a certain amount of defensemen. 5 is just too low. You can definitely add more defensemen onto that roster. But they did have the NHL 4 forward lines. In the ECHL, you're only allowed to have 3 forward lines and 2 extra forwards. But they actually were allowed to run the 4 forward lines because they only had 5 defensemen. If they added 6 defensemen, they would have had to do the 3 forward lines and the 2 extra forwards. So it wasn't that bad of an option. Once it got to overtime, I was like, okay, we may have a chance, but Tyler Reeves took a dumb penalty, and that really cost us the game there. And like the series in Adirondack, when we were in Adirondack, we took a dumb penalty in overtime, and they scored on that power play. 4-on-3 power plays in overtime, you just can't cost, because it's pretty sketchy having like that man advantage in overtime. The Growls had that in Utah when Utah was here, I believe, and didn't score at all on it. I mean, that's just the Growlers, but I mean, you can't be costing penalties in overtime. It's really bad to do. So hopefully we can stop taking those like dumb penalties in overtime. Because that was like the 12th overtime game of the season from the Growls. Growls are out with like Toronto playing a lot of games in overtime. But like I think we have more overtime losses of the season than we did all of last season. It felt like last year every single game that it went to overtime, we'd always be able to win it. But this year it's just not the case. I mean, this is a different Growler squad compared to last year's. But we're gonna have to see what happens with these next 2 games in Norfolk. We play tonight, so I'll make the recap tomorrow. And then we also play Sunday evening. So that's gonna be for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, you can like the video, you can subscribe if you really liked it. We're on the road to 300 subscribers. I almost said 200, but we're gonna have to get used to saying 300. That's gonna be for today's video, guys. And I'll talk to you all again tomorrow as the Growls take on the Admirals for the second time this season.